Hello everyone, welcoming you all. So today we are going to understand Article 15 of the Indian Constitution in a simple manner possible. So before knowing what is in Article 15, we need to remember certain things which will help us to understand Article 15 in a simple manner. So basically Article 15 falls under Part 3 of Indian Constitution. Again, it has 6 clauses in total. The first 3 clauses were there from since when the constitution was drafted by the Constituent Assembly. Later, the other 3 clauses were added by the Constitutional Amendment Act. So, Clause 4 was added by First Amendment Act, Clause 5 was added by 93rd Amendment Act, and Clause 6 added by 103rd Amendment Act. So, these are some important points which has the probability to come into various questions in MCQ. And again, Article 15 is a part of fundamental rights. So now we will understand in detail what explicitly Article 15 talks about. So basically, Article 15 talks about prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So basically, Article 15 says that state, while making any laws, cannot discriminate any person or any citizen on ground of this particular ground. So which coming case law, the ground has been added further. For example, sexual orientation is also a ground of Article 15, which was given has been in the case of National Legal Authority, President of India, I guess. So again, let's talk about what are the clauses that talks about Article 15. So basically, Article 15 clause 1 talks about the state shall not discriminate against any citizen based on religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So these are the mere grounds that cannot, the state can discriminate while making any law. So next clause, that is clause 2, talks about equal access to public spaces. No citizen shall face discrimination in shops, public restaurants, hotels, public of places of public entertainment, for example, cinema hall or such kind of places. Then have wells, tanks, roads, and public resources. So Article 15 clause 2 says that a state cannot discriminate any person from using shops, public restaurants, hotel, or well tanks, roads, or such kind of things. So these cannot be prohibited, or this any law cannot discriminate from public using such things, which is mentioned in Article 15 clause 2. Next, let's see what talks about clause 3. So clause 3 talks about nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any laws special provision for women and children. So again, Article 15 clause 3 is an exception of clause 1 and clause 2, because it says that nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any laws for women and children. So Article 15 talks about there shouldn't be any discrimination on sex. So again, it has, give states such kind of privileges to make any laws for the better development of women and children, and that is an exception to Article 1 and clause 2. So these 3 articles were origin of Article 15. The latter 4, 5, 6 were added by the Constitutional Amendment Act. So here we understood what Article 1, 2, 3 talks about. 1 specifically talks about the ground that the state cannot discriminate, and 2 talks about there should be equal access to public spaces, which will include shops, public restaurants, cinema hall, whale tanks, roads, and public resources. And 3 talks about the special provision given to state that they can make laws for the betterment of women and children, which is an exception to Article clause 1 and 2 of Article 15. So let's know what the other clauses, that is 4, 5, 6. So these are not the exact sentence that has been extracted from the barrack itself. In order to make it understandable, I kind of changes the sentences into a simple manner. So first let's read it, then I'll try to summarize it in a simple manner. Gives power to state to make any special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens, or for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So again, clause 4 gives power to state to make any special provision for socially and educationally backward classes or citizens of SC and ST. So they can make laws for the betterment of the backward classes, which is SC and ST. Again, which are the backward classes, that also will be determined by the state only, but in case there is not a reasonable restriction, then only the court can intervene into it. Otherwise, the state has the right to make laws in order to make life better for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So let's talk about clause 5. The state can make special laws to help socially and educationally disadvantaged groups, including SC and ST. These laws can provide special provisions for their admission to educational institutions, whether government funded or private. However, this does not apply to minority educational institutions mentioned in Article 31. So again, the question of reservation starts from here, which is a topic for debate for long. So again, clause 5 gives power to state to make special provision for SC and ST relating to admission to educational institute. But Article 31, which talks about minority educational institutions, will not be covered under Article 15, clause 5. So now let's talk about the clause 6 and the last clause of Article 15. So this talks about the state can make special provision to support emotionally weaker sections, including those already covered under clause 4 and 5. This includes reservation for their admission to educational institutions, both government funded and private, excluding minority institutions, which has reservation capped at 10% of total seats. So what 4 and 5 talks about, the state has the power to make laws for SC and ST and for other backward classes. So now what 6 talks about? 6 talks about economically weaker section, that is EWS. So we all are very familiar with the EWS certificate, and this says that a person having EWS and who falls under the economically weaker section, so for them also the state can make laws for their betterment. So these are the kind of clauses that Article 15 have. The first 3 clauses were there from the very first day itself, and these are the 3 clauses that has been added by the Constitutional Amendment Act. So that's all about Article 15, which talks about there shouldn't be any discrimination on the grounds of place of birth, race, religion, caste, or sex, and these are the power of state on which basis they can make laws for backward classes, SC, STs, or EWS. So that's all for today. I have tried to simplify it in a easy manner. So we'll be meeting soon with another video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and if you like such kind of content, you can subscribe to my channel. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching the video.